was with sorrow and appreciation for a life well lived that we learned on Friday of the death of His Royal Highness Prince Philip. Our sympathy went out to Her Majesty, our Queen, and their family. Theirs was a marriage blessed by God and worked at by the couple, whose lives have been devoted to duty and service to others and the encouragement of the best in the Commonwealth of Nations. And so we lift confident prayers to heaven that Prince Philip will rest in peace and rise in glory. O God, let light perpetual shine upon him. Amen. Well, with the death of the prince and the introspective period of Lent concluded in the glory of Easter, my thoughts have turned to the concept of duty and how we choose to live out our lives. That in turn brought me to one of the great privileges of my life, being a part of the sovereign military order of the Temple of Jerusalem, more commonly referred to as the Knights Templar. This Christian charitable organization champions values that are close to my heart. Whether it's being old-fashioned, of that I am sure my grandchildren will agree, or having spent 5 years studying history at university, or the Christian foundations of the 13th century, whatever the basis, the Templar goals and values just strike the right chord with me. Charitable works and memberships that allow you to spend time with others who share your values and are working towards a positive future for all is good for one's mental well-being, a great excuse to get out of the house and to explore the world beyond. Too often we become mired in the irritants and petulance of day-to-day living and forget how incredibly privileged we are to live in a free country with enough to eat, jobs, education, shelter, health care, pensions, and so much more. The Templars forced me to look beyond my national boundaries and find friends and co-workers from around the world, and to acknowledge that the freedom to worship our God, which we so take for granted, can be a death sentence in some countries. It forces me to consider statistics that suggest within my children's lifetimes, the Holy Lands, at best, will be tourist spots for Christians, with all the Christian residents driven from many of those lands. And so I find it easy to support the order in active membership, but also I try to incorporate its values in my life. The old-fashioned or romantic of my soul embraces the concept of chivalry. Now, chivalry is generally considered a manner adopted by men, particularly toward women, but it applies equally to the female. Being gallant, polite, honest, and kind does not relate to only one sex. And placing a high value on honor, kindness, and courage are true Christian values. They are values that make for a truly civil and civilized society. And so we need to use these values to illuminate the decisions we make and the actions we take. There are times to hide our light under a bushel basket, doing good things by stealth and anonymously, but too often we do not credit the values that guide our actions and how our faith guides our decisions and deeds. Courage should be a highly valued concept, but it's rarely heard unless it's someone rushing into a burning home to rescue a child or a cat. But courage is needed in our lives in so many ways. We just don't think of courage anymore as a virtue to be encouraged and essential in our lives. We do lots of things that take courage without really calling it that. Walking through the door and being left behind that first day at kindergarten. Getting down on one knee to propose. And giving the yes in response. Having children and learning to say no, even when they promise to hate you forever for saying so. Holding the hand of a dying parent and letting them fade away on their own terms. It takes courage to do things for the first time. It takes courage to fail and rise to fight again. It takes courage to be the best that you can be. Being brave, having courage, living your life to the full in the best possible way. To what more can one aspire? Yes, courage is running into the burning building or swimming out to the drowning or dragging the child from the path of the bus. But the courage that is essential in these times is the courage to speak out, to engage others who do not necessarily agree with you. J.K. Rowling got it right when she wrote, "It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to our enemies, but just as much to stand up to our friends." Hopefully, our goal in life is not solely to be popular. Popularity is nice, but not if it comes at the price of abandoning your principles or kowtowing to the latest cause of the day. If your friendships are based on your agreeing with everything they say and do, aside from blindly following like a sheep, you are in dire need of real friends who will listen to your notions and challenge them and help you to refine them, modify them, or even abandon them if you come to believe they're wrong. True friends do not silence one another. The goal is not unanimity of thought. It isn't necessary to convince others that you are right. But if we do not communicate with each other, discuss our various perspectives, we do not learn or grow or better understand what we believe in and why. Debate and discussion are central to a free nation, and the right to be wrong and learn from it, or not, is what keeps us from a police state. It's when we are forcing our opinions on others that we become dangerous to the very things that are most valuable about free nations. Coco Chanel once noted, "The most courageous act is still to think for yourself, aloud." Thinking out loud means asking questions, being curious, admitting the complexity of most issues, and a sense of humor that lets you laugh at yourself and your own ideas when you discover they lead you down the garden path. It means a willingness to learn and defend and do it without malice or condemnation. It means being open to other people and other ideas without abandoning your own beliefs or opinions. That is what courage is all about. Opening your mouth, being vulnerable, risking being wrong or being thought wrong, and opening your mouth anyway. Thinking is important, but if you just think about something and do not act on it, or do not share your reasoning and your thoughts, what are you? Odds are you fall into one of two categories. You're a bit smug, a little self-righteous, feeling that you have superior reasoning and right on your side, or too concerned about how others perceive you to speak up. But basically, either way, you're a coward if you don't stand up for your beliefs. If you do not speak out against bullies, if you do not protect the weak, if you do not confront those who seek to reduce others, you are choosing your own comfort over bravery. And I think that is one definition of a coward. Being afraid is okay. You may be scared to death at standing up to the bully, or mortified at confronting a friend about their sexism, or just feeling foolish the first time you carry a placard to march in a protest. But then, when you swallow your fears, what you do is brave. It is called courage. If you do not have the courage to travel the path less traveled, to explore ideas that are new to you, to defend the right of others to disagree with you, then you are a coward. You may be a very nice one. You may be kind to old ladies, walk your dog faithfully, and have change in your pocket for the street folk. But you really need to stiffen the backbone and stand up. Stand up to and stand up for. Courage is really a gambling occupation. Gambling on the basic goodness in others, gambling on starting a business or a club or a choir, getting up on stage or behind a podium and putting yourself and your talents and your ideas in front of others. Those others will judge, and some will cheer, and some will jeer. But in the words of Winston Churchill, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And that is what being a Templar and a Christian calls upon us to be someone who believes the world can be a better place and works towards that end with courage and kindness, with little regard for the rewards that may ensue, but with great regard for doing what one believes in. Living in harmony with your beliefs is both comfortable and exciting, invigorating and satisfying. So get off your duff and do something, anything, but believe in what you do and do it with courage. I'm going to close with my favorite quote on the subject. It comes from the great American writer Maya Angelou. Courage is the most important of all the virtues, because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. So may it be. Amen. Prince Philip lived courageously and virtuously and set an example of service that we may all seek to emulate. Honor his memory in the manner in which you live your life. And until next week, be well, be courageous, be blessed.